Thank you for joining into episode 7 now of the Clubhouse Briefing podcast. I'm excited you're here. It is a Sunday where I'm at in Texas. It's a Sunday really anywhere in the world, but where I'm at in Texas, East Texas, is also hot. And so it is, I want to say, it's 92 outside, and it is almost the beginning of June at the time that I'm recording this, very end of May. It's like May 30th, 31st. But it's been a good day. And so thank you for joining in, taking part of this podcast. Hopefully, wherever you're listening from, you're also having a good day. And yeah, excited to get back to this. I am now seeing if this will work with my video. I do apologize. Last recording that I was doing, I got about halfway through and the video just quit. It went out on me. Not really sure what happened. I think it was maybe too many devices on my home internet, TV, wife's phone, my phone, two computers. It was just using too much power, and it just didn't go well. So back at it this week with the video, and excited for that because it really, I think, adds to the experience and assists a lot of what I'm going to be talking about because a lot of them is based on golf articles, different websites I'm looking at, and different things. And so, yeah, glad to be back and glad to have video with it this week. And so I'm going to discuss the current PGA Tour update. I think I usually dive into that stuff, and it's something that I always enjoy doing. Just a second. Okay. So this week on the PGA Tour, it's the Charles Schwab Challenge. Here, pretty close by me, it's in Fort Worth, and so it's about 2.5, 3 hours away. And at the time of looking at this, they're in a playoff. So currently, it is Russell Henley and Arccos, both two very good guys. It was a good field this week. Russell and Eric are playing off right now. Last year's winner, Ben, is back in the top 5 for the tournament. And so he had a very good year last year and won the tournament. And then he fired a 65 today to get into final round contention. And so very good playing from him. Alex Smalley from the PGA, he's back in the contention pool this week with playing there in Dallas, and then a few just really good players. JJ Spawn's up there, Gary Woodland, Michael Brennan. Jordan Smith from the DP World is playing on the PGA Tour this year. He's one of the top 10 players that moved up onto the DP, or no, from the DP World Tour onto the PGA Tour. He's playing well. JT Hideki. Glad to see that Michael Torbjornsen is making quite an impact on the PGA Tour as his rookie season is off and underway. But I really hate for him the third and fourth round performances. He went 4 under, 5 under to get to 9 under, and then shot 71. And he's a very good player, very good driver of the ball. His strokes gained off the tee is wild, I want to say. And he's an all around very good player, but he's just struggled closing out tournaments after getting into contention for the first 2 days. And so I'm glad he's there. He seems like a very nice young guy. He's 22, 23. Went and played at Stanford and then went to PGA. And so very nice guy, really good golf swing. I just really hate to see that he is struggling on the weekends. You don't like to see that. I mean, he's still making cuts. He's still playing well, and he's getting a really good paycheck. But you just hate to see someone make that much progress and then take a few steps back. And so, very good leaderboard. Let me check up on the playoff real fast. Okay, so they've played 18. It looks like. Eric went left, got a shorter shot in with the wedge, and then Russell was in the fairway. And let's see where they are on the green. And Eric Cole is putting first for birdie. He's got 12 foot, and I can't see how far Russell is. Probably like 5 to 6 feet. So yeah, very interested to see how they play on that first hole. And yeah, very good week for the PGA Tour. It's a very interesting golf course. I went there probably 8 to 9 years ago. I don't remember all of the details in their entirety, but my junior year of high school, my stepdad, mom, and I and little brother went up there and we walked it, and it was a very I wouldn't even say tough walk. It was pretty easy, but it was a very terrainy golf course. Like it's in Fort Worth. It's a little flatter than some of the other places I played, but the actual layout of the holes. There's not a lot of total elevation change. So like net numbers are probably 10 to 20 feet on each hole, but there's a lot of slopes and grains going, slopes or valleys, and a lot of different things that are happening at that golf course that make it a little more tough of a walk than you'd expect. But very nice golf course. It's pretty long. I want to say it's 73 to 7,400 yards, so it's pretty good size. Pretty good track, and yeah, I don't remember that much about it, so I'm not just going to sit here and ramble about it when I'm not there. But nice golf course, and glad to see that they are both doing well. So, topics for this week are first article was by Golf Monthly. I went over things about growing the game. I wanted to touch on that. I talked about bro culture on my last episode, but I also wanted to talk about growing the game. And with that, also talk about what a lot of people get wrong. I read this article, maybe Thursday morning, I want to say, before I got started at work. I'll go through and catch up on news with business, the economy, but then I also like to catch up on golf news for the podcast, but also just my own curiosity. But growing up at a country club, I was very much privileged and well taken care of with golf. I mean, I got almost everything I could ever ask for. I had new clubs whenever I needed to get them, new wedges, access to golf facilities, access to instruction. I had a lot of things that a lot of other people didn't, and I'm very grateful for that. I don't want this article to bring out any sort of entitlement in me feeling like, oh, this is, just how it is, suck it up, because I realized that I came from a background of having access to being at a golf course, being able to play whenever I really wanted to, being well privileged in that way. And so I want to keep this fair and objective. But I grew up at a golf course that was private. We probably had 500 to 1,000 members. I don't know exactly the number, but a pretty good size of members from the East Texas area. And we'd drive out. It's on the lake. It was Eagles Bluff Country Club. It's kind of southwest of Tyler, where I live. And very privileged to grow up there, but was very close to the membership committee. My mom was on it for a little while. Very close to the director of membership. I think her name was Holly at the time. I don't know if she's still there, but very nice woman. Knew the pro, knew the assistant pros, knew a lot of the members that have been there for 5 to 10 years, and so grew up in a private setting with that, but also played at a public golf course there in Bullard, like I talked about in another episode. It's called Arcos Golf Course. And there was another one, a sister golf course called Peachtree. And Peachtree's where I really grew up and learned the game, and now they're using it for housing and other stuff. And so grew up playing there too for high school, because sometimes the golf team couldn't get on at a public or at a private golf course in the area. So we go to Oakhurst. And very involved with both golf courses, played there a ton, helped out with a few of the um, demo days, helping out with that, but also helped out with a few, trainings or other stuff we had going on there with clinics or whatever. And so, again, very exposed to public and private golf courses growing up. And this article touched on something about growing the game. I think growing the game is important. I think doing it in a healthy way is important. And this article goes through talking about 5 things that golf clubs are still getting wrong when trying to grow it. I know as a young married man with a wife that is about to be out of school pretty soon, um, one of the things I want to do is start going to play golf. I want to start playing golf more. I want to get Katie more involved with it. I mean, not overly. I mean, I think probably 2 to 3 times a month would be pretty healthy, honestly. But at least twice a month, being able to go play, have maybe a junior membership, or not a junior membership, um, a young married couples membership somewhere. Not need this full social stuff. Just go play golf, go to the clubhouse, have lunch, do all that stuff. But as someone that is eventually going to try to find memberships, I found it interesting to see, okay, I haven't had to pay for a golf membership growing up, because now I just go play publicly, or I'll go places like indoors to do simulator golf and other stuff. So I have not had to pay for a private country club membership because my parents did that. But I still thought this article was something that I wanted to touch on and tell you what this Golf Monthly article is saying, and the writer Emma is trying to get across, but also chime in and say, okay, what do I think about the subject as well? And so um, she starts out with talking about how the Grow the Game has started, and how it's really been a push for a lot of golf courses over the last, I would say, 10 to 15 years, at least since I've started playing. That's something the PGA tries to promote. That's something that most golf courses will tell you they're trying to do is grow the amount of first timers that they get to go to the course, but also just active members they have that are there weekly, they're monthly, or even during the golf season, say April to October. People want to be there and they're trying to start that. But the first thing she highlights is there's not a shallow end. And this is a reference to going to the pool. A lot of people, you kind of tiptoe in, you put your toes in, you get used to the water temperature at first in a pool. You go to the shallow end, it's maybe a foot deep. You kind of just wade in there, and then, it progressively gets deeper. You can go 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down to 11 foot, wherever the deepest part of the pool is where the diving board is. And she compares that to driving ranges, how driving ranges are often full. People are learning, people are taking lessons, they're hitting, um, high end premium driving ranges to have trackmans and other stuff like that. They're maybe a little more niche. They're a lot more particular to use because you have to be very much a Intuit golfer to want to use a TrackMan, want to use a launch monitor to keep up with all your data. But just your standard driving ranges, those are full. But golf courses often aren't, which I think kind of contradicts what I've been hearing from T-Sheet like data, with last week touching on, changes that I've noticed with how many tee times you can get in a week. I would say golf courses are fuller than they have been in COVID. They're not full to the brim where every 10 minutes there's someone going off and, you have waits for 10 minutes on every tee box or putting green. But I think driving ranges are taking off. They're becoming more popular. It's easy to get into it. And there's a lot of secondhand clubs that you can get that are really good, or just nice package sets that are really good and good quality. And so she talks about there's no shallow end for golf. You have the driving range, which is almost like the kiddie pool, and then there's not a 3-hole, go out there and see how you like it. There's not a 6-hole, go out there and see how you like it. There's not a really 9-hole, go out there with an experienced member, learn from them, have a little more leeway with um, not knowing the rules or not having a lot of time to try to figure everything out your first thing or your first time playing. It's kind of, you got to go out there and know exactly etiquette. You have to know rules. You have to know what to do with clothing, how you're supposed to act. And there's not really a shallow end to this. And so belonging at a golf club, like she points out, is something different. And so you can go to a public golf course, it's just, getting deeper into the weeds. But in terms of wading your way in with trying other things, um, that's a little different. So she talks about recruiting ambassador members who, and in turn for helping people get acquainted with um, life and playing at a golf course. You give them reduced fees to help them go and get new members or new people that are interested in joining, antiquated and caught up with, or not antiquated, um, introduced and caught up with the way their golf club works, the rules of golf, what's expected, how to enjoy yourself, but also respect other people. I mean, there's certain things that go on to that, but there's not really a good way to get introduced, because if I was going to go join a club and I didn't have any idea what was going on, I'm expected to have a pretty nice put together set, dress a certain way, know the rules with really no one there to teach you unless you go get lessons. But even then, lessons aren't going to go over the rule book or what you're supposed to do. Um, Really no idea how to keep pace of play. And there's all these different things that go into that, where she's saying, have an ambassador member, where if someone comes to you and says, hey, I want to join, you say, okay, I'm going to talk you through, how to play, what's kind of expected of you, what you should wear, and guide you along in that process of becoming a golfer, which I think is fair. I think having reduced holes, which this is going to touch on the time commitment, as she touches on, time commitment is too big. I agree. I think 9 holes is, even for a experienced golfer like me. I've been playing for 10 years. 9 holes is sometimes a lot of time to be out on the golf course. That's 2 hours probably that I'm going to be out there, and people will say, "Oh, I can play 9 holes in an hour and a half." Great. You're not going to do that walking. You're going to do it on a cart where you're flooring it and you're going as fast as you can and not really, giving a lot of time to putts or shot selection. If you're walking 9 holes, it's going to take you 2 hours. I really hate to tell you that, because it's probably 2 to 3 miles that you're walking. And so, um, I think the time commitment's too big. I think if you broke up golf courses into six hole segments, like some courses they'll have um, three 6 hole tracks or even three 9 hole tracks. And then you can customize which ones you play to do different 18 hole courses and such. But I think having 6 holes as like that's kind of the set. Like if you want to go out and play, go play 6 holes. You want to do 12 holes, do that. You want to do 18 holes, do three six sets. But the time commitment is too big because if my opinion, I'm gonna want to warm up. I don't like going out there and just going, well, do a few practice swings and voila, here we go off to the races. If you want to warm up, not be rushed and enjoy the time you're out there, I would say it's probably going to take you at least 2.5 hours. And that's my personal thoughts. But driving out there, eating lunch before or after, warming up, making sure that you actually put in the effort I think golf deserves. It's probably going to be 2.5, 3 hours, and so it's a big time commitment. My personal thing is they touch on it here: 6 hole competitions for Wednesday night competitions, Saturday comps, subset them and do like 6 holes where if someone says, hey, I just want to play 6 holes, do that. They're in a group that's also going to do that. They do 6 holes, they peel out, the next group goes to say 9, they peel out, and the next group goes to 18. I think doing that would be a very good way to address it. But um also encouraging people to take carts, encouraging people that are going to be walking to kind of know the rights of letting people through and how to speed that up. But I think doing 6 hole commitments would be a really good way to do that. Um, Toxic clubhouse culture. I was very privileged where I was 14, 15, 16, growing up at a country club. I didn't really have to deal with that because I was, very happy kid, very outgoing person. And that really helped me grow and to know how to fit in at a country club, know how to interact with people, know how to be respectful, know how to appreciate their time and the work they're putting in, whether it's the cart boys, the security guard, the waiter, the waitress, pro shop people, how to be respectful. And so I didn't really have to deal with that. I'm not going to touch on that because I think without being saying, golf has a lot of um, undercover rules that not a lot of people know. There's a lot of, oh, I'm better than you potentially because I paid $5,000 a year to be at this club. We want to separate ourselves from all the other people out there that are hanging out in the world and doing all that stuff. And so I want to be separated. I don't want you to come in looking like a different way that I have, my mind preconceived that you should look. There's a lot of different stigmas. I'm not going to go into that because everyone's been to a golf course and felt that pressure of like, oh, people are watching me, they're talking about me. Do I look the right way? Do I have a big tattoo on this part of my arm that says something that someone's going to get offended about? There's different things that go into that, but I didn't have to, you know, put up with that, so to say. But she talks about a incident where the ladies at her club were unwelcoming and so forth. And I think that's a big deal. And I think remedy, be like Jesus, be nice, be accepting, have boundaries, have rules. But if someone's not doing something wrong, don't get onto them. Learn how to be tolerant, learn how to be respectful, learn how to be loving. And that's not, to me, that's not the biggest one on here. She touches on tea times for working women. Um, and she points out the fact that the Office for National Statistics, they're in England, so this is a UK based publication website, is that 72% of women work, but also 77% of men work. I don't know how that really contributes to an argument. And she points out that, it doesn't really make sense for a golf club tee sheet to be midweek scheduling heavy and then have prime weekend slots protected for traditional formats. I don't know what she's really getting at. And Emma, I would love to just sit here and talk to you about this. But, a lot of men, we're working, a lot of women, they're working. My wife wants to work when she graduates because she's going to be a nurse. And she wants to go contribute to our family. We don't have any kids yet. And she looks forward to going and working and earning money and helping contribute to our future. And so like, I don't have time during the week to go tee it up during the week. She doesn't have either. So weekends are kind of prime slots for everyone. I think, having enough tee times for working adults would be how I'd phrase this of like, okay, during the summer, I get off, let's say at 5:15, 5:30, and I get out to the range at 6. They're already picking up. Like, and this happened to me the other day where, I look at my watch and I'm like, okay, it's 6. I should at least have 2 more hours until the sunset. And the car boys are like, hey man, we're picking up at 6:30. I'm like, guys, it doesn't get dark until 8:15. Like, what are we doing here? And so I think, trying to make the range more accessible for working adults would be nice. For that, you can do short 3-hole, go out there and play, do that kind of stuff, and have tee times, exclusively reserved for members that are, working um, full-time employees, because a lot of the guys that are retired, they're going out there 8, 9 in the morning. I almost feel like you don't want to do some sort of segmentation where, okay, if you're looking at a spreadsheet, this membership type is a retired, older men, older gentleman, an older woman, let's say, that wants to go play. Then you have a junior membership. Then you have a working family membership. And you have like a young adult membership. I don't know how you do that, but I don't feel like um, making too much of a distinction where only certain tee times for certain people is the best way to do it. But I feel like having tee times set aside for working adults would make that a really easy thing where they can go out there and, again, do three to 6 holes and go out there, play on a cart, get out there and go, and then be done by 8 o'clock. And I think that would be a really, really good thing for people to do. Other thing is like, prime playing spots is probably going to be on Saturday and Sundays, and it's everyone competing for the same time. And so I don't really have a remedy for that, because, you know, a lot of the people that are playing in, MGA, Members Golf Association tournaments at their local club, that's what they look forward to. They ain't gonna miss that Saturday and Sunday tee off time because they've been working the other 5 days. And usually there's a gentleman's game for older folks that maybe are retired and have more spare time. But those are usually going to be between Monday and Friday. And so Saturday, Sunday, that's just coveted time because you got this huge supply of people, where you have this huge demand of people and not that much supply for tee times. You're going to be living off supply and demand for that one. So, I don't really know a solution to how to fix that. I think having different tee times for maybe reserving some for people that want to go out and play after work or doing something like that, or trying to do more shotgun tournaments where you have, let's say, one tournament going on the front side 9, one tournament going on the back side 9. They flip, everyone goes through, and you're going to have your normal pace of play issues. You're going to have your normal people getting mad. They're getting waited on, let's say. But I think any you're doing with people, any solution you offer is going to be met with problems. So I think having tee times designed for people that work or have families is important. Um, but that's hard. I have to think harder about what to do with specific workarounds like anyone would. But the last thing is prioritizing tradition. Um, and I want to take some time to read what she said. She says that all the above points link to the issue of tradition as an undeniable part of golf's charm and identity, which I think she's true. There is a lot of history, a lot of tradition with golf, but some country clubs determine to protect things that have always been done instead of considering what the modern person, someone who's good with technology, good at scheduling, which other people have been doing that. All generations are good with the technology that's given to them, but a refusal for clubs to adapt to, younger families that maybe want to use technology more than the older members, and not progress with the times. That's something that she's saying is an issue here. And the younger golfers and newer members often look more to just competitions and formal clubhouse occasions. They value flexibility, community, inclusivity, and social connection just as much as playing the game. Music on the driving range, roll-ups, and more relaxed, informal dress code at social events can often see as a gimmick that cheapens the traditions of golf, when in reality, seeing people enjoy golf as a lifestyle in this way is what can attract people in the first place. And so, boy, I have a lot of thoughts on that. So you almost have two classes of members, I think, in this scenario. You have younger folks with not as much disposable income who would be into music on the driving range, would be into a more informal dress code. Myself would. I mean, I've got on a Magnolia T-shirt from Waco where we went a couple weekends ago, and I got a T-shirt there, and I've got on some running shorts, with socks on, filming this podcast, and if I had shoes on, be an outfit, let's say, and I would be fine going to hit golf balls to this because I'm like, okay, I'm going to the driving range. I'm not playing. No one's really seeing me, and I'd be fine going in more of an informal dress to do that. I think the issue is that you have older adults who generally are going to dress a little more formal than us anyways, because their parents, let's say you have someone who's 70 years old, their parents grew up in the 1930s, 40s, 50s. Most people still wore suits every day. Most people still wore button downs every day. Dress shoes were a bigger thing. Women still wore dresses. There was a lot different dress culture back in the day. And so their parents wore suit and ties. So they look and they go, okay, that's what I'm used to. I'm maybe going to be a little more lenient on what I wear. So they're going to wear golf slacks, for sure, tucked in polo that's, pressed, put together. They're going to have on nice shoes. They may have a hat on. And that to them is a lot more lenient than how people used to play golf in full on suits and button downs. So then they see a younger generation come in and they go, well, that's just too far. But then the younger generation goes, okay, well, y'all have worn, nice dress pants, golf shoes, all that other stuff. I'm going to take a little more relaxed approach, un, untuck the shirt, still have on golf shorts, maybe some, flat shoes and, you know, a visor. I don't know. But it's like every generation gets younger, and a little more lenient with things that older generations did care about more than they do. And so you have this competing dynamic. You have older members with more time. They're probably more involved with the membership, maybe mentors, maybe helping out with things. They're more involved. They are a larger percentage of people that pay. So there's money involved. And then you have the other side with people that would be fine with music on a driving range, would be more fine with the informal dress code, more social events, maybe more alcohol at places. You have those two competing dynamics. And so if you cater to one and you make the other one mad, they're going to leave. There goes 60% of your membership. You don't have recurring revenue as a, you know, country club. But then, golf is more of an older generation sport. I would say a lot of people get into golf in their 20s, 30s, and 40s for work. They can't go play flag football with the boys anymore because they may pull their Achilles or pull their groin or whatever. And then they want to do something that's a little more easy on their body physically, like I mentioned, and that they can do something with their friends and a little more of a social aspect to it than more intense physical sports. So you have this competing thing going on that's hard to account for. And so, it really, I think another thing is if it's a public course, so be it. It's kind of let everyone decide what they want to do. There's not really a set, rule or anything because it's public. I mean, that's up to the pro and to, let's say, a membership committee to decide on and for the marshals to enforce. But not really like something you can hard press somebody on. And then private, you have to know what you sign up for going into it. If you are a younger person, let's say, I'm gonna use myself. Let's say I become a, senior analyst at my bank. I'm making good money. My wife becomes a nurse and let's say becomes a charge nurse on night shift and makes better money than she would normally working day shift, just out of college in, a year or two. We go in there, we're like, okay, we got some disposable money. We're going to put it towards this. If we have that ability, we have to know going into it, this is the club's expectations. This is what we're agreeing to. Because if you agree to it and then you start to push against the grain and say, no, 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 we don't want that. We want a more progressive atmosphere and attitude about what we want to bring. Okay, well, you signed up for something that is going to affect how you dress, how you act. And so know what you're getting into. And if you do see a change is necessary, if you want to talk to the HOA, if you live at that golf community or the membership committee, or you want to talk to the head pro or the general manager, do it through the appropriate channels, but know what you're going into. And so it's a very nuanced thing, complex topic. I think a lot of these are good. I tried to give my remedies, but also just explanations. But there's a lot that goes into this. I mean, there's a lot of ways that golf courses can price themselves. Golf courses can offer different things. I mean, I could make a whole video on like in my and or my thought process of what is a good value for a club member to be getting, and what should a golf course offer to its members. How would I design my own golf course? Actually, I'm going to write that down because how would I run my own golf course? Which maybe I've joked with Katie. I'm like, hey, one day we're going to buy a golf course. And she's like, yeah, right. That sounds crazy. And I don't know, maybe it will, but, um, I'm going to make a video about how would I run a golf course? How would I design membership options? How would I do demo days? How would I have the professional, structure paid for, or how would I do the professional setup there with assistant pros and cart boys and PGA professionals? How would I do all that stuff? And so, um, everyone has their own opinion. Obviously, everyone's human, so they're all going to have their own 2 cents about what we should do. Um, but good article. I recommend going check it out. Um, Go read Golf Monthly stuff. They have a lot of good articles, a lot of good things, and so I appreciate the article by Emma. Like I said, it'd be nice to just talk to her here on Zoom or FaceTime and get her thoughts on more of this stuff because I'm just reading what she's wrote. But a very good article. I recommend you go read it. And all good things. So next up, I want to dive into if I was a PGA Tour professional. Let's say I had a full year on the PGA Tour where I was able to just build my own dream bag, build whatever clubs I wanted, have my bag sponsor, my apparel sponsor, my shoes sponsor, everything put just the way I wanted. Build my own dream bag setup. How would I design um, my golf bag? And so I we'll start with driver. I'm going to start with clubs first, then go to apparel, go to my bag. What would I use? Who would I have my sponsors with? Um, and do all that stuff. But I am not a fan of this year's um, newest driver offerings. I think Cobra has the best looking club to me. I'm not a fan of the QI40 from the front on, but I honestly just like the look of some older drivers. And if I was a PGA Tour professional, I had fitting access, I had access to all their stuff, I would go get custom fit for a TaylorMade M5. I love the way this club performed. I used to have it whenever I was in high school. I got fit for it when I was I want to say sophomore. I used the Callaway Rogue Sub-Zero for a while, and then TaylorMade released the M5. I like Twist Face. I thought it was a very good addition to the metal woods that they made. And overall, I really enjoyed the TaylorMade M5. Some pictures of it. I want to say it was the first year, maybe the second year, because M3 may have had them. Second year or first year, they did this speed injection into the face, helping preserve ball speed and everything. And so, looking back, this is back when Jason Day and John Rahm were on Team TaylorMade, and so it was just a very good club. I would love to go get fit for it again. I also go through my specs of what I think I'd be fit in for. I played a 10.5 head. I would either do a 10.5 or 11.5 head with maybe a stiffer shaft and a little less bend, make it a little more stiff to help try to bring down dynamic loft presented to get the spin down. I would have this thing in the draw setting. I have a fade driver now, which I'll kind of use this to talk about my current clubs and what I have in the bag. I have, as of right now, a Ping G430 club. It's the max version. I've got the weight in the center, but some lead tape here on the heel. It's a very good club. I bought it. It's pretty forgiving. I bought it about 2 years ago. It's a good club. You'd probably say, okay, why do you want to draw a Vias club and not have it with the weight there in the heel? I find that if I put the weight there in the heel and then add the lead tape, it messes with strike point. It doesn't really go start line wise exactly where I'd want it to. And so that's my current driver. And I think if I was looking at a driver I'd want to be fit into, I would say probably the TaylorMade M5. Um, there you go. You just got a view of the wardrobe. um, so I would do the TaylorMade M5. I'd have it in a draw setting, maybe do a little more upright with the lie angle. I'd either do it 10.5 or 11.5 and then have the second weight up front to try to get a little less spin with that much loft. But man, it was just such a good club. And I remember it broke because the weight screws, I don't know how I'd handle the weight screws. I think the weight screws are a bit iffy. But the weight screws, they weren't maybe the best construction. So if you said, okay, they don't break, fine. But it was a really good head. The weight screws broke when I had it. This top bolt stripped, and then it fell off. And from there, the head lost a lot of its weight. It didn't play the same swing weight wise. And yeah, just it was a really good club that broke sadly. And then I went into my um, oh goodness, I think that's when I got my G430. Yeah. And so, very good club. I would still play it again. And then if I wanted a different look, I would go with the Elite Knight. I talked about this on a different podcast. Man, I just love that blacked out finish. I like the way the head shape. I've seen it at a few golf shops near my area. I like this crown sole similar to the M5 from the top line address. I like that kind of framing to the face. And so if I want to do all black, I would do a Callaway Knight edition driver of the Elite family. It's got an AI face, looks very nice. Top line address, like I said, is very clean. I have custom head covers. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but just keep the head covers, blacked out face, and man, it is a good thing. I put that thing in draw setting if I could, or just slap some lead tape or hot melt on there. So, driver, that's what I'm going to pick. I'm probably going to go with the M5 first, which I mean, I haven't hit the M2. I remember I hit it a few times. I haven't hit it in a long time. I don't remember exactly the way it flies. I have a better memory of this one because some of my best driving in high school came with this club. And so I like this club. I'd go with that. I know the M2 is another good club, and I'd probably pick that if I'd hit it more recently. But for 3-wood, I'm going to go with the G430 High Launch. I think 3-wood's probably the hardest club for most amateurs and professionals too, probably to hit. I think having a 3-wood at 16 and a half, that kind of doesn't keep the gap between driver at 11 and a half and 16 and a half. That's a tolerant level for me, right about 5 degrees. And if I wanted to even loft this down half a degree to 16, I do that. I need more launch. One day I'll take a swing video of me and maybe dissect it for the podcast, but I don't have the furthest backswing. I'm not very flexible with my hips and my shoulder. Maybe I can go out to TPI and have that assessed, but I lack a little bit of flexibility, so I don't take a full backswing, and so my swing speed's around 105, 106. I want to say if I go after one, so having a higher launch off the deck 3 would be important, and I like the way it looks. It's a very simple top line. Maybe if I had my way, had these blacked out, these wings, the carbon fiber wrap wings blacked out for an all black head. But I love this club. Honestly, the G440 would also be something that I would consider hitting. But 3-wood, that's what I would use. A hybrid, I like a hybrid. I like the shape of a hybrid. I'm a bit torn of if I want to do a high launching 3-wood at 16 degrees and then go into a 19-degree hybrid or a 20-degree hybrid. Probably would do a 7-wood. Honestly, I would do the G430 Max, 7-wood and 3-wood, have that 16 and 21 degrees. From there, I need a 5 hybrid. I need some sort of 5 hybrid for my longer game, for my longer irons. I'm not the best with hitting longer irons. I think my longest iron I have is a 6 iron that I have to Shrixon, which I'll come into in just a little bit. So I like a 5 hybrid. I feel like I can still work it. It's not my favorite club to try to hit punch shots with because the sole is going to get into the ground. It's going to have a lot of loft, and with the sole getting into the ground pretty easy, and the weight being so far back, it doesn't, I don't know the physics of it, but it feels like it hits the ground and then it sort of tilts back. The face gets a little more dynamic loft and it goes a little higher. So maybe not the best for punch shots, but I can do a 6 iron with that as well. But I like it. It's easy to hit in the long par 3s. It's easy to use off the tee if I need something to go into the fairway. So I'm going to use a 5 hybrid. Irons, I'm going to do a little mixed bag. I'm not the clubs. I'm not really one. OEM's got it. I wouldn't use Shrixon for everything. I probably wouldn't use Cobra for everything. I like Ping for the fairway woods and hybrids, but I also like TaylorMade's woods. I also like Callaway's woods. I've had the Epic. I've had the Sub-Zero of the Rogue. I had the XR16. I don't like Titleist woods, but I like their wedges, and I'll touch on their putter here in a little bit. I'm kind of all over the place. I'd probably free ball it. Use the brand agnostic approach for my clubs. And for 6 iron and 7 iron, I'm going to go with the ZXi5. I have a ZXi6. I would do the blacked out ZXI5s because I like blacked out clubs. All of my irons, apart from that 6 iron, which I'll show you here. Like for instance, here's the 6 iron, and then here's the 7 iron. And the 6 iron is the Srixon ZX5. I've got a KBS. I want to say it's KBS 120. Yeah, it's a KBS 120 stiff. I like the sole. I like the way that it interacts with the floor, or the turf whenever you're hitting into it. The tri-cambered sole. I want to say it's tri-cambered. The sole design is very nice. I like it. And then from there I go black. And so I wish I could have got this one blacked out too, but I got a black King Cobra Tour, which I'll go into in a little bit. But for this ideal bag setup for me, just a second. With the ideal bag setup for me, I'm going to go blacked out. I like the way it looks. I don't like the sun blaring at me with wedges, especially. That just gets on my nerves. And so irons, wedges, I'm going to go with the blacked out finish. I'm going to do ZXI5. I'm probably going to do a 5 hybrid at 20, 25 degrees, and then do the 6 iron, 29.5, 7 iron at 34. You're probably thinking, Colton, that is very, very weak lofts for today's standards. Yes, I don't like strong lofted irons because I feel like the whole point of having a gauge improvement iron is to help you hit it easier, get the ball in the air, and have some predictability with flight consistently. I don't think people that are buying gauge improvement irons are trying to work the ball both ways. Obviously, please don't get offended by that. But if you are one of those people that likes to work the ball both ways with a game improvement bigger iron, fine. But I feel like what you want is consistency and having strong lofts that hurt you with getting the ball in the air. Just because the CG's low, the weight's low, I feel like having a 7 iron at 30 degrees, it's not a 7 iron, it's 6 iron. So I would do my lofts pretty traditional. I would do 29.5, 34, and then from there do 4 iron, or not 4 iron. I would do 4 degree increments to go from 34, 38, and then go 43 and 47, and then go into wedges. But that's what I would do for my full remaining set. 8-9 pitching wedge. I would do the King Tour model. They remind me a little bit of like old school Hogan's, kind of with the toe shaping and then that longer hosel flow into the iron face. I love it. I have that in my 7 iron and 9 iron. My bag is a whole different video. You're probably thinking, where's your 8 iron? Whole different video entirely. But I have this club in my bag. It's a very nice club. It looks good. It sounds good. Good turf interaction. I would maybe kind of borrow from the Srixon with the camber of the sole, the way that it's designed to get out of the turf easier. Because I'm a diggier player whenever I take divots. And so yeah, I like this club. It's a very good club. And again, the blacked out finish, they look clean. And they're the same irons that Ricky Fowler plays. For wedges, I would go 52, 57. Honestly, I feel like less wedges is better for me. I don't find myself in a lot of situations where I need to hit a 60 degree. And also being a lefty, I go in to look at clubs and they're like, yeah, we have this big old set over here. And it's like rows and shelves of right-handed wedges. And then it's like, oh, well, you're a lefty. We have one set. And it's like 6 degree of bounce, standard versatile sole. It's like, this doesn't really help me that much. And so I don't feel like the wedge options for lefties are that great. And especially with 60 degrees of loft on a wedge, I'd be very particular. I would rather do a 56, bend it back 1 degree weak, add an extra degree of bounce whenever you do that. Or I don't know if it's exactly a degree, but you add extra bounce whenever you do that. I would take the Cleveland RTZ black satin wedge for my wedge. I would probably do a full groove on the 57 degree at that point, and then the half grooves on the normal one. I say half grooves, they're just normal grooves for a standard wedge. I would do that for the 52 degree, do 57 degree with that full kind of high toe design. Or I would take my current wedges. I would go get custom fit for them, obviously. But like I was saying, if you're right-handed, you have all these different grinds you can choose from. You go to lefty, you have one grind. And so I would go and get fit for wedges. I love the face of this wedge. I like the way it looks. Again, it has that longer heeled face curve right here. It's a very nice shape, very um, sleek, but not overly small. You don't get, a little nervous whenever you're hitting shots with it. And for me, I would probably do the versatile and the 52 degree with this, then do the drop grind with a little more bounce. Different shaping of the sole, how it's going to interact with the grass. And, I would do that. But wedges, those are my two options, the Cleveland or the Cobra King black wedge. Um, Putter, I have never owned a Scotty Cameron, and I feel like it would just be an incredible time to have a custom fit, milled, forged putter, whatever they do with Scotty Camerons. I would do that. And I would do it in this studio style fastback design. Um, Very nice. I like it. It kind of is like the Odyssey, I want to say jailbird, in terms of the back of the club head, that extra alignment line, the sight line on the front. And man, it just looks sexy. It just looks really cool. And I would keep this thing. And I would honestly, once I got fit for it, I would keep it for the rest of my playing career because they're super nice. I mean, they're probably overpriced in relation to what you can get of everything else, but I just feel like this style is very nice. I've always known people that have Scotty Camerons. They've putted well. They're good putters, and I like the way they roll. So I would go custom fit for a Scotty Cameron. I'm not a huge lab guy. I've never used a lab. I know a lot of people would say, okay, I want a lab and just nerd out on what I want to do there. But I'm gonna go Scotty Cameron. I would probably do this neck. I don't know if it's the best neck for me with the way that I stroke the putter. Um, but yeah, I would go get custom fit for a Scotty Cameron and use that because they look and they feel, from what I've seen, unbelievable. But also, not a lot of lefties in high school or college had a Scotty Cameron, and so it was usually TaylorMade, some Odyssey, and some other stuff. But putter, I'm going with that. Moving on to bag and like different head covers, kind of gear that I would have on my bag itself. I'm going with Jones Sports Company. They sponsor, let me see, they sponsor James Nicholas, and I want to, yeah, they just have one brand ambassador. Yeah, James Nicholas, very great YouTuber on the Core Ferry Tour. He is playing some really good golf and is very good. Speaker, very, very nice guy. Looking at his clubs, it looks like he's sponsored by Titleist. He's got Vokeys, T100s. I can't see the wood he's hitting, but yeah, it looks like he's sponsored by Titleist with this stuff. But they sponsor James Nicholas. He's a very, very good Corn Ferry Tour player. Definitely going to be on the PGA Tour soon, and a very smart guy. I watched a interview that he did with Fried Eggs Golf, and a very intelligent guy. I want to say he went to Harvard and played a sport there. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but very smart dude. Yeah, and I don't know if I would, controversial possibly. I don't think I would do a tour bag. I think, and you may hear the puppy. She's barking. Um, I don't think I would do a tour bag. I think having it's a rider bag or whatever you want to call it, but the tour design bag, I just feel like this thing is too big. And like, I get it. You're a tour player. You have a big bag, and like the sponsors, they need real estate. They know this stuff, but I don't want to make my caddy carry this thing. I mean, goodness me, like these things are massive. And so, um, yeah, for them, I'm going to go with golf bags. I have one of their golf bags. Um, I'll just show you the one that I have. It's up here. I have the Rover. I have the Rover golf bag. It is, may not have my exact bag on color. They don't. Um, this is probably the closest. It's a two-tone. It is tan up top, gray on the bottom. It has a very nice two-way strap that you can carry it with. I'm probably just going to get one of these. Maybe the Trooper bag from Jones, but just a nice bag. It has everything you need. I would do the bag with, where's there you go, rangefinder pouch. I would do probably color like this or like that. Do that with the Jones backpack. That would be what I would keep my, well, I wouldn't get my shoes in there. There's probably a shoe bag somewhere. Yeah. can put your shoes in here. I would use them for, and shoe bag. I would use them for all of my bags. Head covers, I have some just custom ones my family's got me, and other stuff. But Jones would be my shoe, backpack, golf bag company. They make very well built stuff, high quality. I really enjoy it. They have hats and some other stuff, but I that would be my uh, sponsor and my equipment manufacturer I'd use for my golf bag. Shoes, very particular on my shoes because, not to get TMI, I have a birth defect on my right foot that makes my foot slant over. It's like a 30-degree angle that it goes over. I think it's a bunion. I just call it my um, jacked up foot, but I have a foot that makes me have to wear very wide toe box shoes. And I tried Nikes, Adidas, not Cobra, but Puma golf shoes. I tried FootJoy. I tried all these different things. These shoes and Olukai, I have most of their shoes, most shoes that I have are made from them. Everything that they have is comfy. It looks good. Grant has a pair. I don't know if he still wears a pair of them, but Grant Horvat had a pair of their shoes for a long time before he started Primo. I don't know if Primo makes their own shoes now, but Grant Horvat wore them. They are super comfy. They're no spikes. They're spikeless. They just kind of have this kind of tooth or grab pattern on the bottom of the shoe that helps with turf stability. I've never slipped once with them. They're very comfy. The insole they put in there, I don't know. There's a picture of it. They're all customized. They're very cool. The insole, they tout it as walking on sand. Yeah, all day comfort feels like you're walking on sand, not the course. I don't know if I'd say that, like wet sand. I don't know if it's exactly that feel, but it is definitely a very comfortable shoe. I wear it to work. I literally have worn these to work before and went and played afterward. And so they are just extremely comfy. Very nice shoes. I like the design. They're kind of that sneaker look. They have like a fold down at the back where you can slip them on and wear them. These would be the ones that I wear. I have probably a few different colors that I would wear. I would wear white and tan for certain outfits, white and blue. Maybe not that color. And this would be my Masters. If I got to play in the Masters, I'd wear this color. But excuse me, they are very, very nice shoes. They are extremely nice. They hold up well. They don't really scuff. They don't really stain that well or that much. Like I said, very cool. I would use Olukai for stuff. They're very good at the stuff they make. They have good running shoes. I think a lot of their stuff is shoes. That's what they really focus on. I've seen flip flops like shown here. I've seen a few things for like apparel with hats and other stuff, but yeah, for shoes, that's what I'm rocking with. Clothing. I have a conglomeration of different pants that I wear, different shirts that I wear. A lot of my shirts are Rowback, Lululemon, or Under Armour, or some other stuff. But my favorite clothing, both pants and polos and long wear, other stuff like that, long wear, just like long sleeves and other stuff like that, is Lululemon. I love their pants. I know some people will hate on Lululemon because they think of them as overpriced, not worth it. My wife got me into them. She wears the leggings and everything that I think this is the exact one that I have. It's this AB Slim Fit right here. They fit good. They look good to me. I would like working with the other brand ambassadors they have with Max and then with Lee. Roger Steele, he's on the PGA Tour, so I wouldn't see him, but he's also a very good guy. They got a lot of style points, I would say, for sure. And so I love the way their stuff fits. I love the way their stuff feels. It's definitely more expensive, but I don't have to worry about money in this situation. So I'm going to go with Lululemon as my sponsor. Maybe a few Malbon tops with their shirts and some other stuff, but that would be everything for clothing. And so hats, I usually don't wear a hat whenever I golf. I would just, find a hat and wear it. We have a hat with our dog's face on it, Maggie. I would maybe wear that hat. I don't know. I'm not a big hat guy. I figure something out, not a big deal. For other Sponsorships. Biggest one is Chipotle. I eat Chipotle at least once a week, and I'm actually craving it. I'm going to go eat it this week. I would try to get Chipotle as my sponsor. I would use the head covers. I would put their brand logo smack on the front of that, stand bag that I got from um, Jones. I love them, and so I would use um, them. I would do Chipotle, and then as my other sponsor, maybe Ridge, like for wallets. Like I love Ridge. I've had this wallet for about 6 years now. It's a very good wallet. Um, and probably like a toothpaste brand. Like just be sponsored by Sensodyne. That would be funny. But Chipotle is probably the biggest one that I would do. Um, maybe Apple. I don't know if Apple sponsors any sports teams because like they stick to tech and they're good at it. But I have all Apple stuff. I have MacBook, um, iPhone, Apple Watch. I would use that, and then I would use Whoop. I would use a Whoop. And some people say, look, Whoop's overpriced. You can get the same stuff out of your Apple Watch. You probably can. My wife wants an Aura ring right now, and so there's other things going on with that. But yeah, I would say Whoop, Apple, or definitely Chipotle. That's the one I'm going with. And so that's my bag setup. That's how I'd categorize it and stuff. The final two things, I'm gonna try to keep this short. We're already at an hour almost, but talking about the use of AI, I know it's something that I've had to definitely get acquainted with over the last 4 years. I remember as a senior in college, AI had been out for about a year, and so about 4 years ago is whenever I started to be exposed to Chat GPT and LLMs and all that other stuff. But the amount of advancement that it's been, I would say, developed and produced to be applied to niche things, like the amount of applications of AI now with golf and baseball and different sports and track and football, and being able to analyze and give you insights. I feel like it's getting to a point now where it's really cool. I don't think it's ever going to replace humans, but at first it was kind of just, oh, that's cool. It's being done in the background, and I'm not really noticing it. But um, they've got to a point now where Club Champion, this article talks about, it's from Golf Digest. Um, the title is Why Your Next Custom Fitting Might Not Even Require a Single Swing. I mean, obviously it is, but it's probably going to have the ability, and they talk about here, the specificity of trying to find things that are unique to you, that are unique to your swing profile, the weight you like to feel, the amount of torque that you put on the golf club, your timing, and all that other stuff, how that is so unique person by person that Bobby Jones, whenever he was playing and he was trying to figure out what to do with his driver, he started with 5,000 pieces of hickory to find 4 shafts to end up with. And so I do want to say that golfers are very particular. I think a human will always have to be involved to understand the feel component of custom fitting and everything else that goes into it. But with that being said, AI has made a lot of advancements, and it's pretty cool because Club Champion, I started using recommender systems, but also AI, and I'm not going to try to touch on how they do this exactly, but they say they have a AI-driven co-pilot recommendation system where they can get swing profiles of you with 15 to 10 swings, probably I think as little as 10 swings, and figure out based on your pace, the tempo, the amount of weight pressure you put on the grip and on your swing, how your legs are moving, all that stuff. They can recommend you a shaft and a club head within 10 swings. And so I think it's really very, I don't want to say isolated. I feel like a lot of people aren't going to get that, you know, technology yet, just because the cost is probably still high. And I say that because Club Champion, you're going to pay a premium. I think you get a good result for the amount of money that you pay, but a lot of people, they're not going to do that, or they're going to go to, um, their club pro or director of instruction or custom fitter that they know and they've worked with for years and they have that trust with. They may not go directly to Club Champion, one, because of the cost, but also kind of that get to know you factor that goes into fitting someone for a golf club. Um, but if you do, you're going to get access to this, but you're going to pay for it with the price that you walk out of Club Champion on the tab. But I think that as this becomes cheaper, as it's easier to implement into apps on your phone, apps on different things that you have access to, whether that's at your local driving range and they have TrackMan on there, and there's a setting where you can allow it to custom fit you for clubs and give you recommendations. And then someone from the pro shop says, hey, we've got this, let us order it for you. I feel like there's so many different things that can come about with these recommendation systems and AI training um, itself from the data we give it on different things that would fit a golfer. And it talks about here is that, sometimes you can have the complete customization to get exactly the shaft, the weight, the length, the lie angle, all that stuff that you need for a club. The person picks it up and they go, "Oh, I don't like the way that feels in my hand. I don't want to hit that." There's kind of that duality of stuff, and so they talk about here is that part of this article touches on um, sometimes newer fitters will go into it and they'll soak it up. They'll eat all the data that it's giving them, and then they'll use it to kind of up their game and get them to kind of a baseline performance of, yeah, I've got a lot of skills from this. I've learned what to look for. It's giving me recommendations. I'm finding out patterns, and it helps get them up to speed. But then older fitters are like, hey, that's giving out an unconventional response. We're not going to trust that yet. And they talk about all the nuances and complexity of that. But, Club Champion has started rolling out AI in their custom fittings. I think the article is a little bit, you know, exacerbated, saying you're not going to have to swing a golf club once. It's just going to see your height, your weight, kind of just some baseline characteristics about your physique and be able to say, okay, this is the golf club you need. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I think you'll need to swing, but I think the use of technology and an experienced, good custom fitter will go a long ways in this world. And then finally, last thing I wanted to touch on, let me change my screen over to real fast. The next thing I wanted to touch on is I just moved it over to a new screen, had to move that over. But Arcos, the distance, I don't want to say distance measuring company, but kind of just the all-in-one course management, club distances, company where I don't have a club with that on it, but for the longest time they would give you recommendations for your swings. They would say, okay, you're 150 yards out. They have these sensors on the butt end of each of your clubs when you're playing, and it tells you, okay, based on this club's data of what you've hit previously, we recommend this. We think you're going to hit it so and so yards. The wind's playing this much, so hit this club. And so it became a course management software, became a club recommendation software, but also just strategy and game improvement. They keep data, millions and millions of shots across their system. They keep that in house, and then they prepare a driving distance report. So this is for 2026. I'm not going to go through everything. I think there's a lot. There's 33 pages. I'm not going to touch on a lot of it. I want to touch on the distance changes year over year from, I want to say it's 2015, but you can find this on Arccos's website. I will link it in the show notes. I'll have that in my description setting for YouTube, but also on Spotify. And so their key findings of this is that they've been measuring the men's distance along with the women's driving distance for 8 years. And so they say that from 2018 to 2026, the change in total distance for men is 1 yard. Over 8 years, players are hitting it 1 yard further for amateurs. I believe this encompasses, elite amateurs. I don't think this covers just tour professionals only. Looking at only the amateur game, 1 yard. And I think that's kind of funny and, a little bit coincidental, because club companies, TaylorMade, Titleist, from 2018 to 2026, Titleist has had 4 to 5 release cycles. TaylorMade's had 8 release cycles since then, because they've done every year up until this last month. But all these companies are saying, we're going to give you more distance, more accuracy, more forgiveness. And distance-wise, from that, let's say you gained a yard a year. All these equipment companies are saying, okay, you're going to hit it further each year. We're going to give you an extra yard. So over 8 years, that's 8 yards. Let's say the equipment's going 8 yards further. Well, if the real change is only 1 yard, then either from a technique standpoint or golfers' just physical ability to hit the ball farther, they've lost 7 yards. And so, let's say the clubs have gone up 8 yards in distance. Other factors with physique and physical fitness and playing ability has made golfers hit it 7 yards less. You're only averaging 1 yard gain, and so yeah, it's less than a yard. It's minuscule, and I talked about this with the USGA and the RNA with their driving distance problem that they're trying to roll back the golf ball. On an amateur level, that'd be ridiculous because amateurs are not hitting it 15 yards further over the last 10 years, let's say, or even the last 8 years, 5 yards. It's not even close. But this report shows that distance isn't a problem for amateurs. We need all the help we can get. I haven't met a single amateur that's like, I hit it too far. I hit it too good, actually. And so, yeah, over the last 8 years, 1 yard change in distance. They also found that 50 yards is the distance gap between oldest and youngest male golfers. And so there's a table that I'll break down here in a little bit. But then the other key finding that I think is two, actually, I'll touch on this here, 63 yards in that bottom left part of the screen, 63 yards distance gaps between a scratch handicap golfer for a man and a 30 plus. So from someone that's shooting 102 to 105 to someone that's breaking par, shooting scratch, even all the way up to being about a 5 handicap, they're hitting it 63 yards, probably 4 to 5 club lengths longer on their tee shots than people that are at 30 handicaps. And so very noticeable change or a very noticeable gap in the amount of distance that players have off the tee based on handicap. But then they also talk about how accuracy isn't always the equalizer. That scratch to 5 handicap men, they're only about 10 percentage points more accurate than 30. So let's say a 30 handicap's hitting, I'm not even going to say 40 because they're probably not. They're hitting, let's say, 30% of their fairways. Okay, a scratch handicap golfer is hitting 40%. So PGA Tour, I want to say, is between 50 and 60%. Scratch, 45, let's say 40. They're not that far ahead of someone that's shooting 100. They're not that far off. And so I would say that distance is the primary driver of someone improving just based on this data alone. And so looking at driving distance by age and handicap, they've got handicap on the y-axis, and then the horizontal x-axis of this column is how old you are. And so I'm in my 20s. I'm probably a 5 to 10 handicap. I don't know. I'm working on getting an active handicap with the GEN program here in the U.S. Because I haven't really played a ton after dislocating my arm. But I used to have a handicap. I haven't kept it in forever, and eventually my login expired. And so I'm actively working on getting one. So I will be updating y'all with how that goes. I would guess on my last scores, I shot 3 over for 9 holes, and then I shot 7 over for 18 holes. And so I would say probably I'm around that 5 to 10 handicap range. I don't know. I will keep you updated. But 250 yards, that's about where I hit my driver carry. About 250 yards with roll, maybe 260. But I fit into this metric, and the eldest people, the elderliest, the oldest people on this report were in their 70s. And if they're 70s scratch, they're hitting at 210 yards. And so very interesting, as the highest distance, the farthest golfers are in their 20s, which I would say correlates with what this is men. So men are usually going to hit our prime athletic ability in the early 20s all the way to mid 20s. Just with muscle mass, with strength, coordination. And so seeing 263 for a scratch golfer in their 20s is kind of the average driving distance. That obviously includes the minimums, the maximums, everything in between. But from the best golfers to the worst golfers, 108 yards. So that's pretty crazy. If you want to take a screenshot of this, pause the video, look at this distance graph or distance chart, it'll give you a lot more details about driving distance by age and handicap. And so it's also pretty substantial to see the driving distance loss, that going from your 20s to your 40s, you're going to lose about 10 yards. and you'll lose, let's say, 5 yards to your 30s, 6 yards to your 40s. And then from your 40s to 50s, you lose about 15 yards. 50s to 60s, about 12 yards. And then from 60s to 70s, about almost 20 yards. And so, man, I've got about 10 yards to lose every year for the next 40 to 50 years. So that's pretty nice. But like I said, very fascinating. This is the next thing. The other thing I want to touch on with this report, which is it's too vast for me to cover everything, is men's driving accuracy. So what's the percentage of fairways hit? How accurate are players getting as handicap gets better, but also as they get older? They found that 15 to 19-year-old golfers who are scratch are hitting 48% of fairways. As you go at that handicap into your 20s, 30s, 40s, they're not at that same accuracy. But then you get to your 50s, you get more accurate. You start hitting 50% of fairways, which then, as you go in 60 and 70, you go to 57 and 60%. So roughly 3 out of 5 fairways a scratch 70-year-old is hitting. But if you look at the distribution of accuracy by age, regardless of handicap, the accuracy for a 19-year-old 30 handicap is 20%. And so as that 30 handicapper gets better, their accuracy, funny enough, doubles almost. They go to 54% by 70. So they're still the same skill level, but just as you get older, and you would have to look into the causation. There's a lot of correlation with this, but causation is a little harder to prove. I think as you get older, driving distance comes down. So then, okay, my driving distance comes down. I don't have as much ball speed. So my dispersion, if I'm hitting at 300 yards, my dispersion is going to be, say, this big. Let's say it's going to be maybe 50 yards left and right, standard deviation of 20 yards, let's say. I don't know. But let's say I have a 50-yard spray window and I'm hitting at 300 yards. Well, that same spray window, if I'm hitting at 250, the ball doesn't have as much chance to go offline. And so let's say that 50 yards goes down to 40 yards. And then as you hit it shorter and shorter and shorter, the distribution for your left and right dispersion is going to get closer and closer and closer. And so I think as players get older, they hit it shorter, so they have less chance to make the ball go offline. But also think I think, almost not intuitive with the data. If you're a 30 handicap at 19, you should be getting better with muscle memory, coordination, more time playing the game to understand how to improve your score. You should be getting better, and that would make you a better ball striker, which should in turn lead to more fairways through accuracy improvements and being able to control your club path and club face. But regardless of that, accuracy improvements from 19 years old at 30 handicap to 70 years old at that same 30 handicap is double. And so the biggest thing is that as we get older, we hit it about 100 yards, not 100 yards, but 100 yards from the best to the worst. From 70s at 30 handicap to 20s at scratch golfer. There's about 100 yards difference, but we're going to lose distance as we get older, and the inverse happens with accuracy. You gain accuracy as you get older. And so maybe it's also from older adults playing from a different tee box that opens up a wider part of the fairway. I guess there's a lot of things that go into that, but final point that I would say, and as they touch on it here at the very beginning in the highlights, it would appear from the data that the amount of accuracy that you gain as like a 25-year-old hitting, let's say I'm a 5 handicap and I'm hitting only 10% more fairways than someone who's a 30 handicap, that would to me indicate the biggest thing that's improving my score is distance off the tee, getting closer to the hole with my first tee shot, and avoiding horrible penalty shots, hitting it into the hazards, hitting it into OB, being able to shape the ball and put it in spots that I want it, but distance at the root of that being what leads to better score. And so fascinating stuff here from the Arcos distance report. I think like I said earlier, with only 1 yard being the change in distance over 8 years, women it's about 4 yards. But I would say I would argue that equipment has gotten better, but the equipment standards from 2018 with the, you know, TaylorMade M5, the TaylorMade M3, you know, the Callaway Epic, you know, even older models, kind of around 2015, 16. If you're looking at clubs to go buy, don't buy into the marketing. Don't buy into the stuff that's saying, "Oh, we make the ball go 15 yards further over the last 10 years," because the data doesn't really support that. There's different things that go into that with, you know, playing ability and other stuff like that. But on average, we're only hitting it a yard further than we did back in the day. And I know I hit it shorter because I'm less fit, I'm less physically active as I used to be, working and doing all that stuff. Um, but only 1 yard over the last 8 years. And so with that, that is the last thing that I have for today's content. Like I said, thank you for joining in. Hopefully your day is going well. If you would like and follow the channel and like the video, share this with friends and family, people that you think would enjoy this type of content. Still working on the next episode, as I touched on in the last podcast episode. I'm going to work on the costs that actually go into maintaining a golf course. I'm using some P&L examples from the internet, but also just doing my own research. And so the next episode, I'm going to go over also what's going on in the world of golf and other stuff like that, but talking about the cost of maintaining a golf course, what goes into maintaining the course, maintaining the pro shop, and everything else that is associated with that. So before I sign off, I want to check on the playoff, see who won. Russell Henley. Let's see. He birdied the first hole. Birdied the first hole. Man. Well, congratulations to Russell Henley. I mean, it looks like he only hit it to, I don't know, maybe 5 foot or whatever, and then sunk the birdie putt. So congrats to Russell. I want to say he was at one point number 3 in the world. I don't know if he's fallen off, but this will for sure help. And also the $1.78 million paycheck. Him and his wife are going to enjoy that very much. And so congratulations to him. But as per normal, thank you for stopping by the Clubhouse Briefing Podcast. You've been briefed. Keep a lookout for our next episode. Like I said, going over golf course maintenance costs. And wherever you are, thank you for tuning in. Thank you.